Crusader Kings 3 is back with one of its smallest DLCs ever, but a DLC that has been wanted by the community for ages. So wanted in fact that modders took the matter into their own hands long ago and made Coronations an actual thing. Well, now official Coronations are here with the aptly named Coronations DLC, and I am here to give you a walkthrough of how this DLC works, so remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you found it helpful. First though, let's get a few important things out of the way. Coronations is in many ways a very specific DLC in that it mostly deals with coronations only, despite also trickling out into law, legitimacy, powerful modifiers elsewhere, and special missions or oaths you can take on and fulfill over the course of a few years or decades. This all sounds good, and even though the act of coronations are present in a free mod for the game, namely Holy Roman Triumph coronation ceremonies, as you'll see in this video, I think a ton of these ideas are really cool. However, as pointed out in great detail by OPB, some of these systems in this DLC are completely bonkers in their execution. Most of this video is a tutorial and walkthrough of the DLC, which will serve you well regardless, but in case of the finer details of some of the Oath for the Ages requirements in particular, you'll see how crazy it gets. So make sure to also check out One Proud Bavarian's video on these issues in finer detail if you haven't already. Before I begin this walkthrough, I also want to say a few things about CK3 and how the game works at the moment, because it relates to Coronations in a big way. CK3 is in many ways such a great game. It's vast, complex, full of roleplay opportunities, and I also wish to give a special credit to Paradox for its openness to modding, allowing players to make the vanilla experiences even deeper or altering it altogether. However, CK3 has in many ways stumbled into a gameplay scheme that simply is not fun. You see, while I love the core experience of CK3, of making your way through this world, building your economy or personal stash, building a dynasty, a lineage, and painting that map, it feels like the game is constantly trying to drag me into looking at and reading events. Events which feel like they're making up 60% of the game at this point. The events range from the mostly random ones to those that are integral to larger parts of the game, like the all-important activities or legends. Whether I'm sitting through royal court sessions, getting married, or traveling the country, most of what I'm doing is simply clicking through the same types of events every time. At some point you stop reading the things and simply look at the modifier choices before you, but it shouldn't be that way. I'm loath to bring up CK2 here, but bear with me for just a second. Random and scripted events were a part of CK2 as well, but because they were smaller and took up less space, the events of CK2 felt like less of a nuisance and something that happened in the game, as opposed to being the entire game. It's not all bad, of course. Some CK3 events are bangers and the rarer ones can be great, but if you played just a few hours, or heck, if you're racking up hundreds or thousands of hours in CK3, you're going to skip through these events so fast, I don't even know what analogy to make here. In my opinion, the cardinal sin of CK3 isn't that it should be more like CK2. I mean, in so many ways, CK3 is a better and bigger game now, certainly when All Under Heaven releases. No, the cardinal sin is the joint fact not only have events that pause the game and make you stop actually playing become a pillar of the experience, but that so many events repeat and repeat and repeat. As OBB pointed out well in his video too, this sadly goes for Coronations as well, in that you're going to see many of the exact same events happening, verbatim, in every single Coronation. Now, I'm not one to hate on a DLC like this. In fact, I'm one of those people that get excited for new stuff almost no matter what it is, because I often love additions to the games that I do love. I just wish that Coronations in particular broke with the pattern of adding ever more events and event-based activities to CK3, because honestly, I've had enough already with the same type of event spam. Of course, doing something as revolutionary to this game as changing how events work is so fundamental that I had no expectation of this being a part of this DLC. That would be part of a much larger update to CK3 and talked about a whole bunch, so that's not at all on Coronations. But it is something I want to share, and I wonder if more people feel the way I do. Paradox has made expansive and core level changes to their other games in the past, most recently with Stellaris, so I don't see why this also couldn't be a thing with CK3. But perhaps I dream, or perhaps I'm alone in wanting this, so let me know what you think in the comments. And now Coronations. The act of a coronation is the act of crowning your monarch, and in CK3 that will most often be your king or queen. Whereas before, gaining the title of king gave you little more than a nice title, rank, and perhaps a modifier to renown and prestige, there was no true pomp surrounding the achievement of moving from a lower rank to this most exalted one. Now though, things are different. Say you play one of CK3's most classic starts, William of Normandy. Even though gaining the Kingdom of England is a reward in itself, despite the unwashed English peasantry, you've also just moved from being a duke to being a king. As such, you not only get your royal court, but also the ability to hold a coronation ceremony. However, a coronation is not a decision like most similar choices, but is actually an activity, and you may choose where the coronation is held, and who accompanies you there like any other travel activity. Like other activities, coronations allow you to choose between various investment levels for increased magnificence. Different intents whether you want to impress your audience, gain prestige, or weaken the realm's detractors, making revolts and civil wars less likely. You may also decide who you wish to invite in order to face the least challenges during your coronation. However, being too picky might backfire. If you choose to not invite certain powerful members of your realm and court, they just might send you a letter demanding an invitation lest they be very angry with you. The reason why you might want to just be a little picky though is because of magnificence. During the event, you'll come up against various choices that may increase or decrease your magnificence, in essence making your coronation more or less successful. Powerful detractors, which is to say people who despise you, may lower the magnificence of the coronation, so keep that in mind. The coronation activity itself then works pretty much as any other feast or marriage activity, in that there are choices you get to make that makes it more or less successful. However, one thing I find fascinating about these activity intents is the impress attendees option in particular. Because here, you get to be presented with many chances of actually significantly increasing your cultural acceptance with other cultures, namely those cultures that some of your guests belong to, by 10% each time. Indeed, by the end of the ceremony, you might even get an event that provides a 10% cultural acceptance increase with multiple cultures at once. This becomes potentially extremely powerful in kingdoms or regions where there are multiple cultures present, like in Castile, Sicily, or indeed in and around England, where William himself is Norman, but where French, Anglo-Saxon, Scottish, Breton, and Dutch cultures are very close, or where people from these cultures might show up. Therefore, if you're a king looking to build cultural bridges and unify your people, this becomes an extremely powerful tool. Of course, you may also choose to form better relations with loyal vassals, make disloyal ones like you more, or even embellish coronation sites and artifacts with new benefits instead. But in my opinion, the impress attendees' cultural acceptance bonuses stand out as uniquely cool. The coronation ceremony screen will show you who your major supporters or detractors are, by the way, but as far as I know, once they're there, there's not much you can do about it except for through the events. One of the most pivotal of the events is likely the one where you choose between crowning yourself or being crowned by the clergy, and I assume you can imagine the outrage if you're going full Napoleon. For the most part though, being crowned by the clergy seems like a pretty decent thing regardless, especially because it secures your relationship with your bishop and therefore your clergy income. One cool thing is that it matters where your coronation ceremony is held, as that city will get a few years worth of bonuses, among them increased control levels. Another important aspect of coronations is the new system of law, the crowned sovereign law. This modifier is determined by not just whether you are crowned or not, but is also affected by the type of crown you have been. You see, we actually get two crowned options here, the regular crowning or the religious anointment, which are only available to a select few powerful rulers. This is a surprisingly great modifier, not just because we desperately need more laws in CK3, but because it actually interacts with CK3's legitimacy system. Being uncrowned comes with terrible modifiers like a -10 to vassal opinion and an active decrease in legitimacy gain. Being crowned then removes all of these negative modifiers and replaces them with +5 courtly vassal opinion and minor landholder vassal opinion, while being anointed gives a full +10, 5, and 10. Thus, being crowned increases and supports your legitimacy as well, not just because of laws mind you, but also because being crowned now provides you with an actual crown of the realm, which gives, amongst other things, a legitimacy gain modifier. Indeed, depending on how your coronation ceremony went, you also gain an impressive coronation modifier, which has the potential to increase your taxation levels with your vassals. But hold your horses now, because I might have just saved the best for last. Each coronation allows you to stake out a path for the coming years, known as an oath for the ages. This is the part where you get to give a sort of speech from the throne, declaring your intention, which can change wildly based on your circumstance and needs. Securing alliances, for example, provides you bonuses if you manage to ally multiple rulers, including even more cultural acceptance. Ensuring peace rewards you for keeping the peace with development and prestige modifiers, and you may try to aim for purging pretenders, installing your own elsewhere, or indeed expand or consolidate a realm by going to war. But here's the really big thing. Certain oaths, like providing for the faithful, supporting your knights, or providing for the poor, opens up the possibility to raise completely new building types, buildings which come with some unique and powerful modifiers if used correctly. While providing for the faithful allows for a building chain that increases your taxes, piety increase, and impressive plague resistance, the latter two might be even more impressive. Because if you start supporting your knights, you'll open up a building chain that ends with serious buffs to your stationed men-at-arms, and even provides your realm with more knights, knight effectiveness, and even one more men-at-arms regiment, which can absolutely spell the difference between victory and defeat. Alternatively, choosing to provide for the poor opens up the almshouses chain, which ends with a massively decreased holding tax level, but a godly increase to development growth per month and popular opinion in its region. Now you might ask why you would want to decrease our taxes. That is of course not the best. But listen to this. You could choose to erect these buildings in the holdings of your neighbors, holdings that would still be close to your own cities or the capital. That is because development bleeds over into nearby holdings, meaning that you can at once increase the development of your realm, plus decrease the wealth of your vassals. However, while all of this sounds great, the requirements for actually fulfilling the oaths are wild and, as OPB points out, are nearly if not actually impossible to complete. You need to either be so rich or so lucky in certain cases that it's simply not going to be possible to build or hunt your way through several of these oaths, which in many cases is extremely unimmersive and can leave a big bad taste in your mouth. As such then, while I do like the underlying ideas of these systems, their execution currently seems completely out of whack. Honestly, if it weren't for some issues plaguing Coronations at the moment, namely the insane requirements for fulfilling oaths, and the adding to an already rinse and repeat style event game, it would have been a great addition to CK3. I really appreciate the idea of Coronations, and despite thinking that it should have been here from the start, or at least a part of the Royal Court DLC, I find the $5 price tag justifiable and okay because of the many ramifications and added features of the Coronations themselves. As such, while I was initially happy that the DLC is here, it's left somewhat of a bitter taste, and I hope Paradox releases a quick fix to patch up some of the more pressing issues, while I also hope that something is done with both the foundational system of events and their repeating. It is nice though that people who do not have access to or use mods get officially supported access to Coronations now. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of Coronations and found my little rant on CK3 interesting. And if you did, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, whether you're picking up Coronations or not. Tell me what you think of CK3's events, and make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!